wonder if there is reincarnation of souls. Has anyone had their children talk about their past lives?
My oldest kid really surprised me. I was listening to Queen songs. She came up and said, "Oh, that's Farrokh singing." For the record, Freddie's real name is Farrokh Bulsara. My daughter was 3.8 years old at the time. When asked how she knew his name, she laughed and said, "We all knew his real name." My daughter, as soon as she started talking, said, "Mommy, play with me? I used to play with you when you were my daughter." And then, already at the age of 4, told how she chose us as the parents flying and looking from above. She still says this. And one day she said, "I remember when you were little, we also bought a red coat. And I had a red coat as a child." By the way, my dad is alive and my mom died 12 years ago, long before my daughter was born. When my daughter was 2 years old, on the weekend we sat down to watch a cartoon together. I just turned on Aladdin, its soundtrack started playing, and she suddenly stood up and started doing some kind of belly dance. Later, she wanted to teach it to me when she started talking. She said to make it look like a balloon in your stomach was moving up and down. At the same time, she had never seen belly dancing anywhere, ever. We live in Denmark. I spent 24/7 with her. My daughter used to tell me it was the music of her home. Some ordinary things could bring her to tears. For example, when we drove past a mosque, or she saw camels and books. Once she cried in a restaurant restroom, looking at the tiles. There was a small oriental pattern. She said it was like that in her home, that she missed her mom and sister. She also said that when she was dying, she had trouble breathing. It went on like that until she was about 8 years old. Then she forgot about that life. Our son once said, with tears in his eyes, that it's so sad, but when we all go to heaven, and we won't meet there. I asked why. I tried to reassure him. He said we might meet, but we won't recognize each other, because everyone there is the same. He was 3-4 years old, and we didn't talk about death before that. I was so creeped out. My youngest son hasn't ever seen my father in life. My dad had died 7 months before he was born. When my son was 3 years old, we were visiting my mom. He saw a photo album with my dad's picture and said that last year his grandfather came to him on his birthday and sat silently on a chair. And there was a little girl with him who looked at the cake but never ate it. By the way, my first child, a daughter, died a couple days after she was born. We didn't have any guests on that birthday, and we didn't have any little girls there. My youngest daughter, at the age of 2 days, spoke like a grown-up girl very loudly to the whole room in some Arabic language. At that moment, she was being examined by the head of the maternity ward. My mom and I were standing next to her. To say that everyone's hair stood on end is an understatement. And later, she spoke until she was 6 years old in a very strange language and named different things in Arabic. When I was 18, I dreamed that children were running in the park. I saw a girl there and wanted to call her to me. She turned around and told me to go away and that I would not come for her soon enough. When I was 28, I took my daughter out of the orphanage. She was exactly like in my dream. I've always been skeptical about rebirth thing, but my relatives had a daughter. She described her past life very often. Supposedly she had a husband and 2 kids. She remembered the city and the addresses of her residence. And what do you think? Her parents went there. Turns out there was a widower with 2 kids, and their mother was dead. Well, it seems like rebirth is real. I have a story like that too. When my son was 4 years old, we went to Germany to Munich for Christmas. After walking along the streets, we went into a bar. My son didn't know German at all. He clearly and confidently pronounced,
"Ein Volk, ein Reich, ein Führer."
Thank God no one from the locals did not hear, and we hurried to the hotel. At the hotel, my spouse and I started talking to him. So when we asked how he even knew German, the son said,
"I was sent here. I was a soldier. I killed Russisch Untermensch."
And he described in detail how he had served in the army. We were shocked. My mom is brunette, but as a teenager, she dyed her hair red. My mom and I came to visit her childhood friends in another city. There was a small amusement park near their house. I asked my mom to take me there. While we were walking, she told me some story from her childhood about this place. But when we got there, I remembered that park and I said, "Mom, we've been here before. You had red hair back then." I was about 6 years old at the time. I couldn't come to that town by myself, much less go to that park. So my mom and I quickly returned home. In the evening, I overheard her talking to her friends. They were talking about how a friend of theirs had died in that park. When it happened, my mom had red hair. Thanks for watching. Give it a like if you liked it. Write in the comments what creepy story happened to you. Hugs!